to be a celebration right now in the WNBA dump, but for some reason, and this should come as a surprise to no one, for some reason, WNBA players, they're just not in a joyous mood. They're not in the mood to express their appreciation, their gratitude to the people who gave them something worth celebrating. Instead of showing their appreciation, these bitter, entitled, insufferable players, they continue to engage in a war with their own body.
We all expected this. I even called it out before the game in my live. But somehow, booing DeWanna Bonner has become...
And it looked like Alyssa Thomas will be getting fined for doing this and...
So Alyssa Thomas had all the smoke for the Fever fans. That's all I'm going to say. Like, it wasn't just like, just normal smoke. It wasn't just normal beef. It was what people from the country will call Dublin. She had the big smoke. Like, she absolutely had all the beef for... She, let the fans hear it, all of this stuff. Satu there, telling the fans to keep up the booze. And what did they do? They lost. And what did Alyssa do?
The WNBA just witnessed one of the most hypocritical, cowardly displays of unprofessionalism we've seen in years. Alyssa Thomas, the so-called veteran leader who spent an entire game chirping at Indiana Fever fans, has officially run and hid like a scared child when it came time to face the media and answer for her actions. This is the story of a player who thought she could talk all the trash in the world, only to discover that real accountability requires you to show up when the cameras are rolling and the questions get tough. She wanted all the smoke, but when the fire got hot, she vanished into the night, leaving a trail of fines and embarrassment in her wake.
Bonner, first time coming back to Indianapolis after pretty much quitting the team. And I'm sticking to my guns saying that she quit the team because in my eyes, that's definitely what she did. Now, she went on record and stated that the role that she had possibly wasn't good enough for her. The fit just wasn't working. But at the end of the day, all of it points to the arrows of what? Quitting the basketball team. There's no way to justify it.
When Alyssa Thomas and the Phoenix Mercury rolled into Indianapolis, she seemed determined to play the villain, and she played the part with gusto. This wasn't just a few competitive words exchanged in the heat of the moment. This was a calculated four-quarter performance of playground bullying. The writing was on the wall from the opening tip. She spent the entire game jawing at fans, gesturing at the crowd, and actively seeking out confrontations. According to multiple reports from fans in the arena, she repeatedly told supporters that her partner, Dana Bonner, had left Indiana to play for a real team. She had, as one announcer put it, the big smoke, basking in the chaos and actively provoking a fan base that had every right to be upset. It was a deliberate attempt to intimidate and antagonize, the kind of behavior that demands a post-game explanation.
Where basically you can see Alyssa Thomas going back and forth with a fan, man. I mean, she just, I don't know if she just can't ignore anybody that's just coming at her, you know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure it's not anything racist or anything like that. I just think they get under her skin. they just get under her skin. And maybe since her first incident, whatever the case may be, she just didn't like it. So after that, she just can't stand any other Fever fan.
But then came the disappearing act. After a game where she was a central figure in the drama, a key contributor who had dominated on the court, Alyssa Thomas had her opportunity to explain herself, to stand by her trash talk, and to show some actual leadership. But she didn't. She vanished faster than her team's championship hopes, violating the WNBA's mandatory media access policy and completely abandoning her coach and teammates. The rule is crystal clear. The leading scorer and a key contributor must be available to the media no later than 10 minutes following the game. This isn't a suggestion, it's a professional obligation, a core part of the job. While her coach, Nate Tibbetts, and teammate Kaylia Copper showed up to face the music like actual professionals, their supposed leader was hiding in the locker room like a child who broke a lamp and doesn't want to get in trouble.
2025 WNBA media access policy states no later than 10 minutes following the game, each head coach and two players, leading scorer and key contributor per team, be available in separate press conference room for in-person Zoom meetings. AT and the Mercury will likely be fined because they chose to break the rule. It's looking like Alyssa Thomas and the Phoenix Mercury are going to be fined because she just said nah. She just said nah.
What makes Thomas's cowardice even more glaring is the stunning contrast with how Caitlin Clark handles herself on a nightly basis. Clark gets knocked down, fouled hard, and is the subject of blatant targeting from opponents in every single game. She faces a level of media scrutiny and fan pressure that no player in the history of the league has ever experienced. Yet, she shows up to every single post-game press conference with class and professionalism. She answers every question, takes responsibility for her play, and never makes excuses or hides from the media. Alyssa Thomas couldn't handle a few boos after a win. Caitlin Clark handles a world of pressure and physical abuse after a loss and still faces the music with grace. It is the fundamental difference between a true professional and a pretender who crumbles the moment the spotlight gets a little too hot.
We seen Alyssa Thomas jawing at it with fans, kind of, making a complete fool of herself, and now she's finna be getting fined because she refused.
Now, this is a game of sport where two teams are going against each other, right? Two rivals, two fan bases, right, are going against each other. You are allowed to be talked about, all right? You are allowed to be talked about. As long as they are keeping it within the game and, not really attacking anything personal or talking about family members or, you know what crosses the line, right? Y'all know what crosses.
After 3 games in a starting role, Bonner was moved to the bench in favor of shooting guard Lexi Hull, and 6 games later, she was done with the Fever. The Fever originally cited personal reasons for her absence, but what I learned later, again from multiple sources, was that the team was actually actively shopping her on the...
To understand this drama, you have to understand why the fans were booing in the first place, and why it was not only justified, but completely normal. Dana Bonner signed with the Fever with great fanfare, promising to be a veteran leader for the young core around Caitlin Clark. Instead, she lasted exactly 9 games before quitting on the team. She averaged a pathetic 7 points, the lowest mark of her entire career. And when she was moved to the bench in favor of a player who was actually hustling, she mentally checked out. She forced the team's hand, and they had to release her, eating her massive $200,000 contract in a league with a hard salary cap, which directly hampered their ability to make other roster moves. So when Alyssa Thomas acts like the fans are wrong for booing a player who quit on their team after a disastrous 9-game tenure, she's showing a stunning level of delusion and disrespect for the fans who pay her salary.
I boo people for less. I boo people for way less. Like, if somebody played for my team, my favorite team, and they left after 9 to 10 games, wasn't a good fit. I'm sure she dealt with some shit. I'd feel the type of way her coming back into my house. That's just fandom, okay? So, again, open to constructive feedback. I think that's sports, man. I'm going to be booing people all the time. I love it. Boo. I love.
This isn't just about one player's bad night. It's the product of a league-wide culture of victimhood that has been festering for years. For decades, the WNBA operated in relative obscurity, coddled by a media that was often just happy to be there, asking softball questions and rarely pushing back. Players grew accustomed to a world where any form of criticism was immediately labeled as hate or sexism. They have conflated valid fan frustration with personal attacks. Booing a player for quitting isn't an attack on her identity. It's a reaction to her professional actions. But players like Thomas seem incapable of making that distinction. They see themselves as perpetual victims in a hostile world, and any negative feedback, no matter how justified, is processed as an existential threat. This mindset makes them completely unprepared for the rough and tumble reality of being a mainstream professional athlete.
Now, I believe Angel Reese did this last year, too, after the Indiana Fever game. She had refused to talk to the media for whatever reason, but it seemed like this is what they do in this league. Like, when things don't go their way, they just refuse to talk to the media, which is so freaking weird to me. So, this was released today, and it stated, Alyssa Thomas provoked last night that she's the lamest of lames. All that is talking, and then ducks the media presser. That's exactly what she.
This incident perfectly illustrates why so many WNBA players are not ready for primetime. For years, they've operated in a bubble, free from the kind of intense scrutiny that every other major sports league in America faces. Booing is normal in sports. It is a fundamental part of the fan experience. Kevin Durant gets mercilessly booed every time he returns to Oklahoma City. LeBron James was booed relentlessly when he first returned to Cleveland. It's part of the game. But somehow, when WNBA players face the same fan reaction, it's treated as a national crisis, an act of supreme disrespect. They want all the benefits of mainstream attention, the money, the fame, the charter flights, but they don't want any of the accountability that comes with it. And the most delicious, laugh-out-loud part of this whole saga is the irony. After all of Alyssa Thomas's trash talk about Bonner joining a real team, her real team got beat. And not just beat, they lost to a short-handed Indiana squad that was playing without their generational superstar, Caitlin Clark. The loss makes Thomas's on-court antics look even more foolish, and her post-game disappearing act even more pathetic.
Every time something positive happens to this dump of a league, they spoil the celebration. And the WNBA continues to prove why they are not ready for prime time. Caitlin Clark enters the league, and literally overnight, the WNBA is pushed into the mainstream. When you go from complete anonymity to mainstream exposure and you're not ready, the problems of your league will be exposed and magnified. All of your warts will be uncovered. When you're not used to being recognized, when you're not used to being criticized, and all of a sudden you're dealing with both on a daily basis, that can lead to frustration.
Like the booing and everything, Dwana brought that in herself. Let's be completely real. Even Nate Tibbetts was just like, well, yeah, this is... Their coach was even like, well, yeah, this is sports. This is sports. And...
There is no denying the fact. WNBA players are frustrated. Hell, this league has been filled with whiners and complainers for the last 30 years. For 28 of those years, no one was paying attention. Now, the bitterness has been magnified. They're complaining about their minimum wage salaries. They're complaining about the media coverage. They're complaining about criticism. Instead of venting about these complaints privately, WNBA players, they choose to do it publicly. And who is the number one target of their frustration?
The fine that Thomas and the Mercury are facing is just the tip of the iceberg, because this is part of a pattern of disrespect for the league's basic professional standards. Angel Reese has also famously dug the media after tough losses. The New York Liberty were slapped with a massive $25,000 fine for the same violation. It's a recurring theme. When things get tough, instead of showing leadership, some of the league's biggest names choose to hide. This behavior sends a terrible message to young fans and undermines the league's credibility. It suggests that personal feelings are more important than professional obligations. In a league that is fighting for respect, these constant displays of immaturity and a lack of accountability are a huge step backward. In the end, Alyssa Thomas got a taste of what real professional sports scrutiny feels like, and she couldn't handle it. The fine that she and the Mercury are facing isn't just a punishment, it's instant karma. You can't spend an entire game acting tough, talking trash, and provoking fans, and then run and hide when it's time to be accountable for your actions. The WNBA players wanted mainstream attention, and now, thanks to Caitlin Clark, they have it. But with that attention comes real fan investment, real emotional stakes, and real consequences for unprofessional behavior. Welcome to the big leagues, where actions have consequences and hiding isn't an option.